the book I'm using is biology book. The big idea is simply explained. So today I'm gonna talk about the cellular basis of life. So what is it? The cell theory. See, the cellular nature of life. So in every biology book, you will see this famous name, Robert Hooke, because he found the term. So the name called the cell in 1665. So he was looking the dead cells under a microscope, right? So the dead cells are the cork slices, so the cork bark. So they happen to look like a box, like units, like a honeycomb. So he made a resemblance to a honeycomb structure. So I think he called it as, a tiny compartment, like a rooms. So tiny compartment rooms. So called cellular. So okay, we have Dutch 1980s. The Dutch scientist Anthony Leuven. Okay, let me go to the next page. Anthony Leeuwenhoek. I hope I spell it right. It's Anthony Leeuwenhoek. He observed animal cues. So he observed the animal cells. So he found cells in saliva, so which is some of the bacteria. It's human blood, semen. He then observed the pond water, and he observed the cells in saliva, so which is some of the bacteria. And so remember, Anthony Leeuwenhoek in 1673. And Robert Hooke is in 1665, right? Okay. So what did he observe? So he observed the single cells organisms under a microscope. So this is the bacteria chart. Let me see if I can identify some of it. I think the second one, this one is E. coli. So E. coli. So E. coli, and this is, I think, I'm not for sure, maybe streptococcus. And the second one is E. coli, and this is definitely for semen. So the fourth and five, I guess. So this is the cork slices. See, the structure is like honeycomb, and and this seems like a tiny compartment, like a tiny hose. So in 1820s to 30s, French physiologist Henri Dutrochet, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it right, and let me tell you this for sure. I am a little bit cheating here. I try to use the text to speech input in my phone, and it said no text found. So there's no hope I can pronounce it right. So please excuse my pronunciation. So he studied many samples from nature. So So he studied weeds, pounds in his garden, and he concluded, so it's like plant cells. So plant. So he studied plant. So he concluded that the both plants and animals, the cell is the ultimate unit in both anatomy or structure. So he wrote the cell as everything is ultimately derived from a cell. And so Anthony Leeuwenhoek, he studied animals and a specific type of animals. What are they? Single-celled organisms. And while Robin Hooke, he studied the cork, so the dead cells. So till now we have seen Robin Hooke, Anthony Leeuwenhoek, and we have seen French physiologist Henry. I don't want to pronounce the last name, which will be worst pronounced, and it will be a disrespect to him. So we have seen 3 scientists, right? And in the 19th century, in the 19th century, there's a German biologist and a physician, Theodor Sechwen, right? He's a university professor, and he found, let's see what he found. So he studied humans and other animals, and he noted its recurring cellular structures. So like recurring same cellular structures. So at the same time we have another scientist. So this totals to 5 scientists in cell theory. So we have Matthias Sheldon, another scientist at Sechwen's University in Berlin. So he was studying plant cells. He was professor of botany, and like Sechwen, and he was a serious investigator. And he had seen majority of his plant cell samples, and he had not found a clear evidence of nuclei or even a widespread cellular structure in his studies of animal. So both plant cells and animal cells have cell membrane. What is cell membrane? It's this outside layer. Whether it's plant or animal, they have cell membrane in common. Plant cells have hard cell wall surrounding the cell membrane. So this is the soft one. Soft. And this has a double. So they have cell wall and cell membrane. So which gives the cell its regular shape. So we have cell membrane, nucleus, mitochondria, vacuoles, and same thing for the plant cells. We have vacuoles, we have cell wall, we have extra one, chloroplast, and we have. So Robin Hooke just gave the cells their name, but it's so complex, but he named the cells as cells. So cellular, right? And the nucleus is usually the most important, so the most prominent part of a cell's organelles. So this nucleus has many specialized Okay, so organelles has many specialized internal structures that carry out particular functions in a cell. So what are cell organelles? So some of the cell organelles are nucleus, mitochondria, Golgi apparatus, endoplasmic reticulum, and rough endoplasmic reticulum, and we have many. And in 1833, a Scottish botanist Robert Brown. So in 1665, we have Robert Hooke, right? Robert Hooke. So here 1833 we have Robert Brown. So we have Robert Brown. So he described and named nucleus, but it was first recognized or found by Sheldon, Matthias Sheldon. And Sheldon theorized that new cells are created from the nuclei of existing cells. So he gave this theory. What is it? All new cells are from existing cells, and those are created from nuclei. Okay. So till now we have talked about 7 scientists. Who are they? Robert Hooke. We have Anthony Leeuwenhoek. We have French physiologist Henry. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. And we have Matthias Sheldon. We have Theodore Sechwin, which are 7, I think. Let's see. Okay, so I counted. So we have 6 scientists. Sorry for the mistake. It's not 7, it's 6. And lastly, we have Robert Brown. So in 1838, Sheldon published his ideas in an article called Contributions to Our Knowledge of Pathogenesis.
Didn't take place. So here are some ways to indicate a negative result.
Okay. So he described how each part of plant is composed of cells and proposed that the list stages. So the first stages in life of an organism and its subsequent development were all based on cells. So while discussing, he found similarities between animal cells and plant cells, because they both have cell membrane, they both have vacuoles, they both have nucleus. I know this video is a little bit long, but you are here to study. So while studying, you need to learn to take notes and put your attention, and active listening is the most important thing. And even this is a little bit long, bear with me, because if you go to the college and the lectures will be 1 hour long, while mine is 20 minutes. So think of this as a conversation between you and me. So I am your mentor or teacher and you're the student. So, okay, we are gonna focus on So we are in page 31. So we started at page 28, 29, 30, 31. So Theodore Sachwin quote, the cause of nutrition and growth resides not in the organism as a whole, but in the separate elementary parts of the cell. So an example for this would be, you see autism as um, a brain caused disease, right? But it's not, it's the cell. Each cell has mitochondria, right? Each cell has nucleus, each cell has cell membrane, cell wall. But if each cell has a mitochondria, so the human is made up of a billion cells. So if the billion cells have mitochondria and the mitochondria is slow, it is caused by the mitochondria in autism does not produce enough ATP. ATP is the cell's energy source. So if billion of cells doesn't produce enough ATP, so it causes the person to become slow. So that is the disease called autism. So in 1839, Sachwin formulated his theories on animal and plant in his book called Microscopic Investigations on Similarity of Structures and Growth of Animals and Plants. And he also gave credit to Sheldon that proposed that all living things are made up of cells, and that cell is the fundamental unit of life. So these are the two principles that became the basis of cell theory. What are true principles? One is all living things are made up of cells, and the cell is fundamental unit of life. And Sachwin was also recognized the adult animal tissues into 5 groups. So what are 5 groups? Separate independent cells. What are separated independent cells? Or blood. And we have compacted independent cells such as fingernails, skins, and feathers. So in animals. And the cells whose connecting walls have combined. So the bone has tissues. It connects the bone, tissue, bone. So it's connecting wall such as bone, teeth, cartilage. And we have elongated cells such as fibrous tissue, the ligaments. And we have cells formed by fusion of walls and cavities such as muscles, tendons, and nerves. Okay, so these are my digital notes. I still need to work on the cover. And this is me studying the university biology, so I will explain everything for you guys. So we see here we have unit 1, the chemical basis of life, and we have unit 2, the molecules of life. Oopsie, let me go to that. Okay, university biology. So in unit 2, we talk about fats, phospholipids, cholesterol, carbohydrates, amino acids, polypeptides, proteins, glycoproteins, all that. And unit 3 is where we are. the cellular basis of life. So after Unit 3, I will explain Unit 1 and 2. So in Unit 3, we have animal cells, cell membranes, the nucleus, ribosomes, endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi apparatus, centrosomes, centrioles, lysosomes, peroxisomes, protein kinesis, the proteasome, the cytoskeleton, cilia, animal cells, adipose tissue, the junction between cells. We have plant cells, chloroplast, chlorophylls, carotenoids, plant tissue, apoptosis, collagens. Okay, we have diffusion, transport, membrane channels, and endocytosis and exocytosis. So for each one, I will post a separate video. So let me go. Okay, give me a. Okay, so these are my notes for cell theory. So I summarized everything in one page. So here we have 1665, Robert Hooke, dead cell, cork slice under microscope and small compartments. It's like honeycomb-like structure. And we have Rudolf Virchow. He proposed a whole organism does not get sick, only a certain groups of cell get sick. He gave this theory in 1858. And we have Theodore Sechwin. All living things are made up of one or more animal cells. And we have Matthias Sheldon. He said all plant tissues are made up of cells. And they both gave in 1939. And we have Antony Leeuwenhoek, first discovered microscope and a protist and bacteria. So he observed the bacteria, which is 1674. Okay, that's it for this scientist. And we have cells. So this is very informal, but this is what basically the cells do. The cells are also called cytology. The cells are smallest unit of life because they eat, crab, repeat. The cells are various types that eat different crab. Cells also have cool functions. Some conduct electricity, some are elastic, and some are like SWAT team, and some are like CIA, and some are like banks, they store, and some are like a courier company, they distribute, and some are like a trading company, so they trade some for certain. So we have types of organisms. We have unicellular and multicellular. For unicellular, unicellular is a independent existence, and anything less than a complete structure does not ensure independent living. So this is for Indian medical exam, NEET. So this is the NCRT part. And we have multicellular, as they reproduce through labor division, also called as cell division, and they depend on other cells for necessities and not capable of independent existence since they depend on other cells. And we have liver cells that help digest fats, and we have pancreatic cells that produce juice that help in digestion. So it's like they depend. So the liver cells depend on pancreatic cell since they produce the juice. Okay, we have cell theory. A French worker named H.J. Dutrochet in 1824 gave the idea of cell theory. So, but the actual credit goes to Sheldon and Sechwin. All living things are composed of cell. So they gave this whole theory. So we have exceptions to the cell theory. Viruses are exception to the cell theory. So which means the viruses are not included in cell theory. And we have modifications of cell theory, which was done by Rudolf Virchow in 1855. The life exists only in cells. So he stated these points. The point number 1 is life exists in only cells. And we have point number 2, membrane bound cell organelles of protoplasm or cytoplasm do not survive alone or outside. And we have point number 3, the new cells are like a parent cell. Point number 4, all cells have similar in fundamental structure. For example, we have cell membrane for all cells and only for cell wall only for plant cells. We have nucleus. And point number 5 is cells display homeostasis and remain alive. And point number 6 is genetic information is stored in DNA and expressed in the cells. And we have point number 7 is DNA controls structure or a working of a cell. And point number 8 is all cells are from pre-existing cells. And that's it for today's video. And this is cell theory. Remember the important points. And these are my notes. You can summarize everything in one page. So these are my digital notes. Thank you. Bye-bye. So the book I'm using is Essential Cell Biology. So what page we are in? 35. Let me go to 1. So Essential Cell Biology, the 5th edition. And we're going to talk about the unit 1, chapter 1. As we know, the cell is fundamental unit of life. It reproduces, it digests foods, it protects us from pathogens like viruses, bacteria. The page number 2. So cell has different sizes and different shapes. So when comparing one cell and another cell, most obvious places to start with is the size. So cells are measured in 2 sizes. One is macrometers. You can see it's like a UM. And one is nanometers. It's NM. So nanometers is NM. Okay. And they have different sizes. Cells have different sizes such as nerve cell, and we have paramecium. We have macrophage. And dendritic cells, osteoclast. We have different types of cells. So see, the nerve cell is 100 macrometers and paramecium is 25 macrometers. And we have macrophage that is 25 macrometers. Okay, and that's it for the cell sizes, and let me show you guys my notes. University biology. Okay, we have cell sizes. So the larger the cell gets, the more difficult it is for the nutrients and gases to move in and move out. So as the cell grows, the volume increases, then the surface. The large cells have some size difficulties since they are large. So these are the scale measurement. So 1 centimeter, as we know, is 10 millimeters, right? So the 1 millimeter is equals to 1000 macrometers. And 1 macrometer is 1000 nanometers. So think the cells as these square boxes. So that's it. And so the smallest eukaryotic cell has diameter 400 nanometer. It's very small because nanometer is less than macrometer. And eukaryotic cells are normally between 1 to 100 micrometer. We are on the cell shape. Most cells are between 1 to 100 macrometer. They have variety shapes and they have variety function. Example of shape is nerve cell, paramecium, macrophages. We have dendritic cells, and we are on pod of cells. So all cells have few things in common. What are they? Plasma membrane, cytoplasm, ribosomes. DNA is stored in nucleus, so we should exclude this. Sorry. And we have endoplasmic reticulum, we have smooth ER, rough ER, we have Golgi apparatus, lysosomes, peroxisomes, deoxysomes, we have cytoskeleton, we have mitochondria, nucleus, vacuole, cell wall, chloroplast in plants, centrioles, and these are for some bacteria. And we have membrane receptors for phagocytosis. And that's it for this video. And in the next video, we will talk about unicellular organisms.